I'm slashing, that takes a certain type of motion. I'm thrusting, that takes a certain type of motion. Pay attention to how you navigate your weapons and how they make sense to your body, to making sure they're going the right direction so you don't stab yourself, okay? And paying attention to the rhythm, paying attention to the flow, using body mechanics to navigate your weapon. Hey guys, my name's Sean Elders and this is Pinnacle Combat. Today we're going to be talking about double knife and how to navigate those double knife in different patterns you may have never seen before. Let's get started. Rule number one, knife situation. If we're talking about strictly self-defense stuff, we want to always remember that there's 4 rules to the knife altercation. Somebody pulls a knife on you, you run. That's the first rule. The second rule is if you can't run and you can't get out of there, you can't find any way to navigate, you have to find either some kind of blockade, some kind of way to get between you and that other, maybe a car or something like that. That's another way until you can run out of there. But the second rule is if you can't do that, you're gonna have to find an equalizer. That equalizer it can be a knife, it can be any kind of object that can hurt the hand or cut the hand, okay? Then number 3 is you defang the snake. You strike the hand that the weapon's in, and then number 4 is you follow up till they're no longer a threat, okay? Those are the first basic rules. But the number 1 rule is run, always run. You do not need to stay there and, you know, this is not a Highlander movie. You know, you gotta be able to get in and get out. It's always safer just to evade and avoid situation if you can. But when we're talking about strictly learning material, okay, this is a great one. And why is this so good? It's good because you're educating both hands. What if one hand gets hurt? Then you're able to navigate with that left hand a lot better if you're right-handed, or vice versa if you're left-handed, okay? That's one aspect. The other aspect is you're learning how to integrate the secondary hand, okay? So for instance, if I'm using one knife, okay, and I come in and I can strike and then cut and then strike or thrust and slash and come in, and I can still use this other hand to either check or strike with. That is an element that is a lot of times forgotten when you see it in the Filipino martial arts. So this hand can come in and it can strike, okay? This can be a checking hand, okay? I don't like the idea, in some Eskrima groups, they call this the sacrifice hand. I don't like that. You're not going to use this as a sacrifice hand, so you're going to get chopped up with this hand and then you come in with this hand. No, I don't want you to ever think like that, but you can redirect with this hand. Sometimes you may just want to have your position here. Sometimes you may want to come in and use this position here, you see? So sometimes we're going to be in this position and I want to be able to navigate and pay attention to my range and distance, okay? And be able to flow just like this, okay? And you're using this one hand, but notice how I'm always using my other hand, okay? I'm always using, and I'm paying attention where my knife hand is, okay? And I'm also paying attention to where my other hand is. I'm always checking. Notice how my hips and my shoulders change, and I can check. I can go to the eyes, okay? I can use this other hand. And so that comes in with the play of learning how to navigate 2 weapons at the same time. This hand is a weapon still, okay? And it can still be used as a weapon. So double knife, we have standard grip, we have double reverse, we have a mixture, whichever way you want to do it. Today we're just going to talk about reverse grip, okay? That means that you can do some extended range, but also some mostly close quarter range. Each one has its advantages. So your advantage to long, what we call sock grip. This is good for the fencing distance. This is a little bit longer distance, but we can also do things with our reverse grip. What I'm gonna do is show you some basic patterns to help you get started in how to navigate 2 knives. I want you to start to see your patterns as different lines and how do they come together? How do they make sense, okay? So when we think about thrusting, okay, we think about slashing. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each position and how they correspond with your attacker. So the first part is when we practice slashing, what is that? Where is that? What is that? What kind of relationship does that have to your opponent? When we practice a combination, let's say we're talking about double stick and we do double stick patterns. Say everybody knows Heaven 6, for instance. What is Heaven 6? Heaven 6 is a pattern to teach you how to navigate two weapons of equal length, two weapons that are at a certain distance. But what are they after that? Well, once we destroy the hand that holds the weapon, or we find an opening, and we are able to then make connection, okay, and then our opponent becomes staggered in some way, we unleash our wrath, okay, if that makes any sense. So, for instance, once that their hands are down and their defense is down, that is when we want to give them a consistent level of pressure until they're no longer a threat. And so the idea of that is that combination, that flow, okay, that thread of constant attacks helps bring our opponent down, okay? And so the idea of this is that constant pressure, we need to make sense of that constant pressure. We need to make sure that that pressure makes sense. Where am I going? Where are the openings going? So these double weapon patterns help us to learn where to identify openings, where to identify attacks when they're trying to attack us, how to deflect and navigate around those attacks, but then also how do I bring in that pressure after I get done? And so that is the idea of these patterns. These patterns is at a moment of consistent pressure on our opponent until they're no longer a threat. I think that's a very important part of this whole thing. I want you to think of the pattern is crossing and cutting at this diagonal slash right here. Okay, so I come in and I'm slashing, my hand comes up, and when you do this in the mirror, you want to pay attention to the line and make sure it's nice and straight. When I move, my knife hand is up at this position here, and I'm slashing like that. I want to make sure, the first thing, so I have my thrusting motion here. I have notice how my knife comes out. When you're looking in the mirror, you want to pay attention to how that is. And so there's this natural box that's around us. We want to have that point of that knife in that box, in that point of that box, so that when we cut, we're moving our body when using our full body range and making sure that it's nice and straight. So we start off, we thrust, this hand comes up, just like this, and I cut at a diagonal slash, just like this, okay? I come down and I'm gonna thrust low, okay? And then I'm gonna cut up, just like that, and then this one comes back up again. So I thrust, this hand comes up. As I thrust, I'm slashing, I thrust low, I slash out of that thrust. Let's say we bring it in, I turn the weapon and I cut out and I cut up again. So that looks like this. And so at the same time, you're gonna do a lateral step, just like this. So I'm gonna thrust, I turn up, and I slash back, okay? And so when I'm in my position, when I'm up starting my attack, this knife hand is here on my pectoral muscle, pointing out at a 45 degrees, and I come in and I go 1, 2, I shove that in quick and I slice back up, and then I come back into this position just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to position, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, back to position. Now, at any time, let's say they stop you here, okay? Okay, we can turn and trap that hand and then cut. See that? And I thrust, and then when I thrust, they could try to stop me. I turn that out and come in, and then I come back with a secondary attack. So this is a basic movement. These are basics, but at the same time, I want you to think about, what if they do this? What if they do that? You could also, when you go here, when they stop you here, you turn the blade down and cut, and then you cut again. Thrust low, and then come back up again. So what you want to do is you want to spend a lot of time just going back and forth. Make sure your feet are in the right spot. Make sure your feet are doing the right thing. Okay, just like that. And that's the basics of the diagonal slash. So on the bob, what does that look like? I thrust. When I thrust, I'm going right into the jugular. Okay, then I'm going to slash. I'm going to bring this into position. I slash back up, and then I slash back up again. So 1, 2, 3, slash up. 1, 2, 3, slash up. 1, 2, 3, slash up, okay? And this motion can be done at any angle. That's the idea of this, okay? So for instance, if I want to do it on a horizontal line, I'm going across just like that. See, I thrust, I slash, I thrust. I can turn that slash out. I can also turn this one out if I wanted to, see? And all I'm doing is also lateral stepping. Why? Because we need to stay consistent pressure, and we can walk down the line and keep going just like this. And we can keep that motion moving forward. So I could, for instance, if I'm in this position, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just keep moving forward, lateral stepping, okay? If you've ever heard of Jack Dempsey uses those motions, and he does this lateral stepping movement with his boxing, okay? It's the same concept. He's giving a constant pressure on his opponent. That is an element that you see in the Filipino martial arts, but you also see it as boxers, they either discovered it or coaches taught them. But there's a lot of good material when it comes to that. And there's a lot of knowledge that you can practice and use. So this is what I call double knife pattern. And I want you to start to think about how you're doing it. So you can thrust, you can slash with that same hand, slash again, and thrust and slash again. And you can go back and forth, lateral stepping here, and making sure that those lines are nice and straight. It takes time and takes practice. We can also do it from this angle. I can come up here, and I can do it from this angle now. See that? And I'm doing it from this angle. And this is a follow-up exercise. And that's a very important part of this whole thing, is that you're learning how to navigate. So if I'm going here, I'm learning how to flow these knives together. See that? And I'm learning how to horizontal slashes, diagonal slashes, you know, and you're making sense of your feet at the same time, and you can come in and you can come out, okay? And this is a very important part of how to navigate the weapons. So you also work it on the bob. You pay attention to where your knife hands are. You're always paying attention to your targeting system, okay? You're paying attention. I'm slashing, that takes a certain type of motion. I'm thrusting, that takes a certain type of motion. Pay attention to how you navigate your weapons and how they make sense to your body, to making sure they're going the right direction so you don't stab yourself, okay? And paying attention to the rhythm, paying attention to the flow, using body mechanics to navigate your weapon, okay? So I hope that helped. I'll see you guys next time. Panantukan Level 1. This program is one of the most streamlined. It's over 8.5 hours long. It gives you everything step by step, everything that you need. Fundamentals breakdown of all the exercises you need, understanding of empty hand, how to use fight without gloves, with gloves. It's going to teach you all the aspects that you need about the foundation and fundamentals of Panantukan, okay? Unlike what we see a lot of times now in the combatives in the Filipino martial arts world, a lot of techniques, a lot of drills, but how do you make those drills go from the drill to actual real combatives? And that's what this program, this is the first level to that, and getting you set up, learning all the aspects of how do I engage, what's the techniques, what do I need to practice to get myself where I'm able to be adaptable in combat. Okay, that's the most important thing. That's what everybody's looking for. How do I get better? How am I able to adapt when somebody attacks me? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? What I'm going to do is I'm giving you a different perspective on Panantukan, unlike what you see in this modern day where you see a lot of drills and exercises that just don't translate to real combat. I call the meat and potatoes of combat. Not the fluff, not all the extra stuff, but only simply the things that you really need that are going to help you be effective in combat. But the most important thing in combat is to survive. The most important thing is to be able to adapt, okay? And so that's what this program is all about. This is going to help you go to that next level. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you've been doing this for 10 years. I'm going to help fill in those gaps, fill in those holes that you've never learned before. Go to our website, pinnaclecombatarts.com. There you can find out more about what I do and the classes that I provide. Thank you guys so much for your support, and have a great day.